Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. For this video, I am going to be discussing Five Nights at Freddy's AR special delivery. Recently, the game has concluded its Halloween event. This event contained 3 new characters and 1 new skin. The new characters include Chica, BONNE, and Plushtrap, finally bringing some of the nightmare animatronics to special delivery, while the skin was Catrina Toy Chica. Since the event has now been completed, I thought it was an excellent opportunity to make a video that I have wanted to make for quite a while. For this video, I am going to be covering all 18 special delivery skins and ranking them from worst to best. Before the video begins, I would like to clear up a few things. First of all, as of making this video, the most recent skin is Catrina Toy Chica, so if any future skins are not in this video, it is just because they did not exist yet when this ranking was written. Secondly, Freddy Fazbear and 8-Bit Baby will not be included in this ranking. There seems to be a misconception that these 2 characters are skins, even though they have their own CPUs and mechanics. Finally, this video is entirely my own opinions, but feel free to share your rankings in the comments section. With the introduction out of the way, let's get on to the ranking. Starting off with number 18, and unfortunately my least favorite skin, is Scorching Chica. Scorching Chica was the 3rd skin to be introduced in the Sizzling summer event, and I think that this was the point when the event began to run out of steam. The first half of the event had very creative concepts related to heat, whereas the second half resorted to just doing characters on fire. While Scorching Chica's magma texture admittedly does look somewhat interesting, it does not really change the fact that this is just Chica on fire. Her case is not really helped by the fact that she is the only Sizzling summer skin to not have a unique workshop animation either. For number 17, only slightly higher than Scorching Chica, we have the first skin of the 4th of July event, Firework Freddy. I honestly hesitate to even call this one a skin, since it is just Freddy with 4th of July cosmetics. His patriotic outfit and large firework do look quite funny, but aside from his costume, there are no overall changes to Freddy's actual suit. There are a few more scratches on his suit, but this change is very minor. At least with Magician Mangle, which was also a skin with event-themed cosmetics, her colors were actually changed from her original appearance. However, Firework Freddy was the first skin to have a unique charging animation, so he at least has that advantage, but I still find this skin to be wasted potential. Also, how has that firework not exploded yet? For 16, we return to the Sizzling summer event with, and I should probably be prepared for a lot of angry comments, Flaming Springtrap. Flaming Springtrap was the 4th and final skin to be introduced in the event, and he is literally just Springtrap on fire. Technically, his design is lazier than Scorching Chica, however, I have ranked him slightly higher for a few reasons. His unique workshop and haywire animations look very intimidating, and he is the only skin to have their own unique attack animation and attack scream. There is also the theory that this skin represents Springtrap during his escape from the Fazbear's Fright Fire. However, all of this is not really enough to save the fact that Flaming Springtrap's design is fairly lazy and generic. Thankfully, skins 18 to 16 are the only skins that I consider to be bad, as numbers 15 to 11 are mediocre, and the top 10 are all good in my opinion. For number 15, we have the very first skin to be created for special delivery, Shamrock Freddy. In my top 10 least favorite Five Nights characters video, I had Shamrock Freddy at number 8. However, that video is very outdated now. Specifically Glitchtrap, BROILER, and Shamrock Freddy are no longer on that list. I may consider doing that video and my top 10 favorite characters videos sometime in the future. Getting back to Shamrock Freddy, even though he is no longer one of my least favorite animatronics, I am still not a big fan on this skin, mainly because he does not really stand out among the others. He is very well themed around Street Patrick's stay, with the leprechaun hat and the gold chain and microphone, but there are other skins that I just like much more. For number 14, we have the second and final 4th of July skin, Liberty Chica. This skin is definitely very unique, since it is based off of the Statue of Liberty. However, that is also where my main problem with this skin stems from. It looks and sounds absolutely absurd. An animatronic based on the Statue of Liberty sounds absolutely ridiculous. However, because of this skin stands out a lot more, hence why I have ranked it higher than Scorching Chica, Firework Freddy, Flaming Springtrap, and Shamrock Freddy, since those skins felt much lazier by comparison. Her unique charging animation also looks quite intimidating, since she is much taller than normal Chica. Overall, I have very mixed opinions on Liberty Chica, since what makes her stand out is also what drags her down substantially. For number 13, we have the third skin to be introduced in the Arcade Mayhem event, Sister Toy BONNE. While I think that Sister Toy BONNE executes the digital suit texture the best out of the 3 Arcade Mayhem skins, my main problem is that he does not stand out as much as the others, who had features that made them stand out from the other skins. VR Toy Freddy's standout feature was his headset, and High Score Toy Chica's standout features included her 8-bit cupcake and her high score bib. Meanwhile, Sister Toy BONNE only has the phrase Sister Mirror on his chest, and mainly falls back on his glitchy and corrupted suit texture. This is not really helped by the fact that he is the only Arcade Mayhem animatronic whose appearance does not alter during an encounter. VR Toy Freddy, High Score Toy Chica, and 8-bit Baby all change in appearance during encounters, while Sister Toy BONNE's appearance remains the same all throughout the game. Overall, while I do not hate Sister Toy BONNE, he just falls into the average tier for me. For number 12, we have the first skin of the Wasteland event, Radioactive Foxy. Originally, this skin was in the top 10, but after reconsidering my opinions and more skins being added, he has definitely moved down a few placements. However, this is not due to my opinion of him decreasing, but rather due to me liking the next 11 skins more. I think that Radioactive Foxy fits the theme of the Wasteland event very well, with his glowing, translucent suit, his thick, radioactive aura, and the faint radiation warning symbol on his chest. The final standout feature of this skin is his double hook, which I think is more creative than just adding a hook to Foxy's other arm. If Illumix just did that, then this skin would be slightly lower. Also, this was the very first skin to have a unique workshop animation, which gives it more points. However, the reason why this skin is slightly lower than it used to be is because it can sometimes feel like just a glow-in-the-dark version of Foxy. For number 11, barely missing the top 10, we have the first skin of the Dark Circus event, Ringmaster Foxy. To be honest, when I first saw this skin, I was slightly disappointed, because I was hoping that the Dark Circus event would be a sister location themed event, since Ballora had recently been added. However, now that some time has passed, my opinion of this skin has gradually improved. Besides, even though both Circus Baby and Ballora are already in the game, there are still plenty of sister location characters left to potentially compose an event in the future. Getting back to Ringmaster Foxy, I really like the color scheme used for his Ringmaster costume. His nearly colorless suit looks fairly creepy, and his hook has been replaced with a long, dangerous, intimidating whip. The only problem is that this skin does not really match Foxy's personality, and would likely have worked better as a Freddy skin. For number 10, just barely making it to the top 10, we have the second skin to be introduced in the Easter event, Easter BONNE. When this skin was first revealed, I was honestly a little confused, mainly because this skin was released shortly after Chocolate Bonnie, and it just felt redundant to be getting two Easter-themed Bonnie skins back to back. I would have preferred an Easter Chica skin, but I still quite like Easter Bonnie. There is something oddly relaxing about his color scheme and chest patterns, possibly due to the contrast between colorful patterns on his chest and pure white on his body. If you lay close attention to the Happy Easter tag on his ear, you may notice that, while the rest of the text is black, the S is actually blue. If anybody had any ideas as to what this may imply, then feel free to share them in the comments. Also, Easter Bonnie originally had green eyes when he was first released, but they were later changed to blue, although I am unsure as to which eye color I prefer for him. For number 9, we have the first skin we introduced in the Arcade Mayhem event, VR Toy Freddy. I am going to be completely honest, when I first saw this skin all of the way back in May, I absolutely hated it, because I thought that, from that point, special delivery would be nothing more than random and generic skins. However, since it has been several months since then, my opinion of VR Toy Freddy has gradually improved and he is now one of my favorite skins in the game. If Illumix had just given the virtual reality headset to a random character like Balloon Boy or Toy Chica, then my opinion would not really have changed. However, I appreciate that they have it to Toy Freddy, a character who was previously depicted playing video games in Ultimate Custom Night. I am surprised that I did not initially pick up on this, since I have played Ultimate Custom Night for far longer than I should probably admit. This, combined with his deep, purple color scheme and the electrical currents running across his body, makes him a very unique skin. During encounters, VR Toy Freddy's appearance changes into his alter ego of sorts, Attack Mode Toy Freddy. Rather than a deep purple, he becomes a blazing orange, and his headset is removed to reveal his sparkling, digitized eyelashes. While I really like the design of Attack Mode Toy Freddy, I still prefer the design of VR Toy Freddy. For number 8, we have the second skin to be introduced in the Arcade Mayhem event, and also my favorite skin of the event, High Score Toy Chica. While she admittedly does execute the digital suit texture the worst out of the Arcade Mayhem skins, she definitely has my favorite color scheme out of all of them, as I really like the deep, blue texture of this skin. One of the two most notable aspects of High Score Toy Chica is the 8-bit cupcake, which I think looks amazing as a 3D model of a sprite, possibly foreshadowing 8-bit baby. The other notable feature is her high score bib. I find it quite clever how it is actually a flashing screen inside of her chest rather than just writing high score over her other bib. Just like VR Toy Freddy and 8-bit baby, High Score Toy Chica's appearance alters during encounters, with her turning into Game Over Toy Chica, whose design I honestly prefer over High Score Toy Chica. Just like normal Toy Chica, her eyes and beak disappear, but now she has a very demonic red and purple color scheme. Her bib now reads Game Over, and the 8-bit cupcake is now a very sinister shade of purple. For number 7, we have the second skin to be introduced in the Sizzling summer event, Broiler Baby. If you could not tell from these rankings so far, I vastly prefer the first half of the Sizzling summer event as opposed to the second half, since it introduced far more interesting concepts. And Broiler Baby was no exception. The idea of replacing Baby's ice cream machine and claw with a furnace is honestly genius. Also, this skin is honestly very intimidating, especially in its teaser, as Broiler Baby looks as if she is about to shove you headfirst into hell itself. The only problem with this skin is that the only change to Baby's color scheme was just smearing it with coal dust. Despite that, Broiler Baby is still very creepy and menacing, but her creepiness is only slightly beaten by the next skin in my ranking. For number 6, just barely missing out on the top 5, we have the third skin to be introduced in the Dark Circus event, Clown Springtrap. Just like how my low placement of Flaming Springtrap may have triggered outrage in the comments section, I'm sure that this placement has only intensified it. A lot of people are not big fans of this skin, and that is perfectly fine. Opinions are opinions, but I honestly really like this skin. I think that the killer clown motif is executed very well with Clown Springtrap, with his costume, his clown makeup, and even his giant hammer. This is also the scariest skin in my opinion. In his teaser and his haywire animation, his bulky appearance, combined with his clown attire, really reminds me of Pennywise from IT. However, I do agree with the people that this should have been a Balloon Boy skin, since he still has not received any skins yet, and we already had Toxic Springtrap and Flaming Springtrap. For number 5, just barely making it to the top 5, we have the most recent skin, Catrina Toy Chica. To be honest, I was very disappointed when I first saw this skin, because I was hoping that the Halloween event would consist entirely of returning characters. However, just like with several other skins, my opinion quickly improved. I think that this skin was very creatively themed around Halloween, rather than just being an animatronic dressed up in a generic Halloween costume. Catrina Toy Chica is actually themed around the Day of the Dead celebration. Also, this skin is honestly very creepy. Wow, I have just covered the 3 creepiest skins back to back. Catrina Toy Chica's color scheme resembles a rotting corpse. Her eyes are red and demonic, her attire is unsettlingly deteriorating, and her cupcake is probably the most unnerving cupcake of all, with the skull-like patterns covering its face. This skin really reminds me of films like Coco or The Book or Life, which are centered around the Day of the Dead celebration. For number 4, we have the first skin to be introduced in the Easter event, Chocolate Bonnie. I was really considering Chocolate Bonnie for the top 3, but he was just barely beaten out by the next 3. Chocolate Bonnie is widely considered to be one of the best skins in Special Delivery, and I definitely agree. This skin is very creatively themed around Easter, rather than just dressing up an animatronic with Easter-themed cosmetics. There are quite a few nice details crammed into this skin, including his chocolate texture, his pink nose, Smarties being used for his chest buttons, and the numerous bite marks in his left side, revealing parts of his endoskeleton. Now, Easter Bonnie's blue S is beginning to make a lot more sense. It is unclear if Chocolate Bonnie is actually made out of chocolate, but if he is, then this implies that Fazbear Entertainment has much more advanced technology than the outside world. Interestingly, Chocolate Bonnie is also one of the most frequently returning skins as well, since he returned for both his merchandise sale and the Blast from the Past event, which was one of my favorite events in the game so far. Now, we have finally reached the top 3, and for number 3, we have the second skin of the Wasteland event, Toxic Springtrap. This was the first skin of Springtrap to be released, and this was an amazing skin to start with. All of the infectious warts, boils, veins, and biohazardous waste fused to Springtrap's suit looks very unnerving, and he fits the theme of the Wasteland event, possibly even more than Radioactive Foxy. Interestingly, this skin is also colored purple, very similarly to William Afton's appearances in the Five Nights 2 and 3 minigames, which is a very nice touch for a version of Springtrap. Even though slimy, squelching sounds could already be heard with Springtrap's workshop animation, they fit much better with Toxic Springtrap due to his warts and boils constantly pulsating upwards and downwards. My final praise for this skin is that it is a very good suggestion as to what Springtrap would look like if he was a twisted animatronics, since many of them are covered in boils. Now, we have reached the top 2, with only 2 contenders left in the ring, Flamethrower in 001 and Magician Mangle. Which of them is my favorite skin of Special Delivery? Well, number 2, the skin that just barely lost, is Flamethrower in 001. Flamethrower in 001 was the very first skin to be introduced in the Sizzling summer event, and he set some very high expectations for the rest of the event, which the second half sadly did not meet. Let's address the obvious reason why Flamethrower in 001 is this high up. He is wielding a damn flamethrower. While ridiculous, this is an awesome feature to give to an animatronic. Now, a lot of you may be pointing to number 14 on this list, where I criticized Liberty Chica for being a ridiculous concept. So, let me just clear up why I like Flamethrower in 001 but not Liberty Chica, despite calling them both ridiculous. My problem with Liberty Chica is that her ridiculous concept and design take away a lot of intimidation from her and make her very unthreatening to encounter. Meanwhile, the flamethrower makes Flamethrower in 001 much more threatening during an encounter, because he could incinerate you at any moment. I apologize if I appeared hypocritical by criticizing one skin for something that I enjoy in another. My other praises for this skin include the rest of its attire, its welder's mask and gas tank backpack, its fiery, neon texture that is a supplement to its design rather than the main focus, and the fact that it is an Indo-01 skin, something that I am sure that not a lot of people were expecting. But, seriously, how did Indo-01 get a skin before Balloon Boy? Regardless, Flamethrower Indo-01 is, without a doubt, one of the best skins that Special Delivery has offered us so far, due to its intriguing concept and execution. And yet, there is still one more skin left to go. Finally, number 1. My favorite skin of Five Nights at Freddy's AR, Special Delivery is Magician Mangle, the second skin to be released in the Dark Circus event. Very quickly, no, Magician Mangle is not number 1 just because Mangle is my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's character. I have other reasons as well. First of all, Magician Mangle is essentially Firework Freddy but executed correctly. My problem with that skin was that despite adding new cosmetics, there were no changes to the animatronic's outer appearance. Magician Mangle improves upon this by repainting Mangle's suit and endoskeleton into a very rusty and faded combination of caramel and grey, which looks quite creepy. However, my main praise for this skin is the amount of detail crammed into it, surrounding all of Mangle's magician props. Mangle is wearing a magician hat, her second head is wearing bunny ears while holding a wand in its mouth and appearing hypnotized. She is holding an enormous, sharp, rusty saw, several cards are wedged into her twisted endoskeleton, several broken handcuffs are attached to her limbs, and, to top it all off, she has the ability to levitate several knives into the air almost indefinitely. There are just so many details crammed into this skin that fit the theme of magician and reference several magic tricks, such as sawing a person in half or pulling a rabbit out of a hat. I also enjoy how Magician Mangle is the first animatronics to have telekinesis, although it is unclear how she obtained it. If Illumix continues to release any more skins, then I am sure that they will continue to do a fantastic job on them. But for now, Magician Mangle is my favorite skin in Five Nights at Freddy's AR, Special Delivery. And that was my ranking of all 18 Special Delivery skins from worst to best. Overall, in my opinion, there were 9 great skins, 3 decent skins, 3 mis-skins, and 3 bad skins, which is not a bad ratio. I was originally planning to do this video back in October, but since Catrina Toy Chica was released 2 weeks ago, I decided to wait until the Halloween event had ended, just in case we received any more skins. Thankfully, we did not, and we instead received possibly the best addition to the game so far. Overall, that is all that I have for this video. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section, and please subscribe to the channel if you would like to be notified about my latest uploads. Thank you for watching.